Hi guys, this is Jen Hersh, Corrective Exercise Specialist at Crossroads Chiropractic and Wellness. And today's video is kind of an accumulation of exercises to help with anterior core strength, scapular stabilization, and then glute firing. If you're one of my clients, I have gone through and probably recommended either all of these or a combination of these. So this is going to be a reference video for those clients. Partway through the video, I'm also going to reference an exercise called dead bugs, which many of you have probably heard of before. I will also be making a separate video that talks about a lot of different variations on dead bugs. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to talk about the most basic one, but check back at the channel if you have actually been instructed by me to do a different version, and I will make you a separate reference video just because that exercise just kind of deserves its own video as to all the different things that we can do with it. So when we talk about scapular stabilization, we talk about glute firing, the point is to get, essentially anterior core to support the shoulders, anterior core to support the pelvis, right? But in order to do that, we want to make sure that all the support tissue behind the scapula is firing as well, and the glutes are properly supporting the hip complex. Now, when I say glutes, in this particular video, we're referencing a lot of glute max support and some essentially glute med support as well. But the real main point here is to get that drive with glute max. So that being the case, we're going to start off with kind of upper body and work our way down into lower body. But, depending on what protocol I've given you, the order may be different for you. So just know this is simply a reference video on how to do the exercises, not necessarily the number of reps or the order in which I've given you your protocol. If you are not one of my clients and want some more direction on how to use the video, do your usual like and subscribe and message me kind of thing, and you'll see all of the links in the comments below or in the description below as to how to reach out to me. Now, I have to do a special thank you to Dr. Andrew Locke and to Dr. Jenna Nguyen, because those are two practitioners that I greatly admire and also coached me in some of these in my own protocol so that I could go through and help other people with it. So thank you both always for your support. Now, when we talk about scapula stuff, upper body stuff, right, we want mobility and we want strength and to be able to control it. So the first two things that I'm going to demonstrate are banded cat-cows and then scapular punches. So with the banded cat-cows, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a band like so. Okay, I'm going to put it through my hands like this. All right. Now, if we're going for upper body or scapular mobilization, I'm going to put it just barely under my armpits, right? Now, if I'm wanting to get some lower body stuff, you could bring it down to low back. So it really kind of depends on where you are in your protocol. So what I'm going to do here is that band is right here. Arms are a nice 90 degrees. Knees are a nice 90 degrees. I'm going to exhale. Bring everything up. Inhale. Control it back down. That nice slow motion with that breath and that controlling this all the way back to here is what goes through and actually enables you to stabilize because you're working the eccentric of that action. So I always joke about if you can't remember when to exhale, if you're in your cat-cow and you're going to do the cat, hiss like your cat, and then inhale as you come back down like your cow, right? Now for your punches, you'll never forget that now. Now for your punches, the cool part is if you're doing a scapular or thoracic work, then essentially you're going to have the band in the exact same position. We're just going to flip over. So when I flip over, I'm going to be here. And for most of my people, we're doing a 90-degree protocol and a 120-degree protocol. So when I'm here, I'm going to alternately punch to the ceiling. Alternately punch to the ceiling. The thought process here is my hands are not like out like this or like this. They're a really nice neutral position just like this. And my elbows are nice and straight. All of that is coming from behind my shoulder blade. I'm also not shrugging in that action either. Then at 120, I'm going to come to here, same thing. Punch from here, punch from here. Now this one, your hands are going to want to scoot back this way. Try not to let them. Use that one anchor hand essentially as a guide to make sure that you're in the right spot. So next on our list is what I call McGill Curl Ups. I don't really call them that, that's what they're called. But McGill Curl Ups are essentially, these are actually designed by Dr. McGill. So thank you again for all your research and everything that you've done to rehab backs. Cool human being. And if you get a chance to read his books, once again, cool human being. So the McGill Curl Up is essentially a way to activate the entire core and put minimum pressure on your low back. So when I'm here, what I'm going to do is my hands are underneath my back, but not to like change my tilt at all. It's really just to keep me from rocking side to side and to give me a little bit of a brace. So when I'm here, I'm going to kind of create a nice little mid-back shelf. So squeezing my shoulder blades together a little bit. And I'm simply going to give that initial exhale to bring core to center, like that zipper, right? I'm zippering top, down, down, up, and a little bit to center. With that zipper, I'm going to exhale. Now I'm going to crunch my rib cage to my hip bones. And notice I'm using that crunch and that breath of all those core muscles to simply make my nose go straight up. So the other side, just like so, making my nose go straight up. If you're struggling to feel that crunch, you can hold at the top, just like so, to really feel that zipper and then control it back down. Once again, reps and application is going to be according to whatever protocol I've given you. Next, everybody's favorite, that's a little bit of sarcasm, dead bugs. So, hence the name dead bug, because I'm here, right? So many variations. The most basic one for anyone that's had any kind of essentially low back dysfunction, I'm not forcing the low of my back into the ground. I'm giving an exhale for a brace to activate my core. I'm keeping it neutral, but then I'm going to breathe into that, bracing to fight. So I'm keeping my pelvis neutral. Now, however that looks for you, like here I'm a little limited on how far my arms go back, right? But I'm going to give that exhale, and then I'm going to inhale, use that crunch to come back. Now, variations are going to be any number of one leg is down and we're just doing one foot. You can go all the way out. You can go all the way up. You could have hands against the wall. There's a lot of different versions, but that's the most basic one. Then we're going to look at what we call belted clamshells. Now, I don't actually have like a gait belt or leather belt here. So a gait belt, a leather belt, something that doesn't give is going to be the best option for this. I'm going to use a band just for demonstration techniques today, but something that doesn't give is the best way to incorporate this into your routine because you want to fight that isometric strength. So what I'm going to do here is the band is here. And the goal is even when I'm fully engaged, I'm not really going past my femur line here, right? So I'm going to start in this position. I'm going to give that nice to get a little bit of that core neutrality. And when I say neutral core, I mean rib cage in line with the hip bone. And then from here, everyone's favorite, I'm basically going to give that activation, neutral core, and I'm going to squeeze a penny between my cheeks. I'm going to use that penny squeeze of that glute activation to now fight out into the band. Now this band is pretty light, so I'd be able to really go far. But if this was a belt of any kind, I would barely be able to fight it. And you're going to hold for a 3 to a 5 count, really trying to feel both glutes engage at the same time. Come back to neutral once if you feel anything else kick in, like quads, hip. We want glute, we don't want hip, right? And then I would reset. Nice penny squeeze, use that penny squeeze to then push out into the band. Those are what we call belted clamshells. Now, the last one is a set of glute activations designed by Dr. Andrew Locke. These are definitely something you would graduate to once the belted clamshells became comfortable. This is not something that everyone can do very easily. So that's why I always throw this at the end of the video, because some of my people might not be ready for this yet. If you are, here you go. You want to bench, like so. We're going to use some of the same concepts as we did with that belted clamshell. This time though, we're going to use a band that actually has some give. Not that that's too easy, right? One that has a little resistance, but I also don't want you burning out your hips in this process. So we're going to start, shoulders are supported. I'm in a nice solid tabletop position. So hip bones are in line, right, with my pelvis here, or that's silly. Hip bones are in line with my rib cage. Some people need to have that very slight neck tuck, right? You could be here, you could support your neck, but you are not pulling your neck, okay? In this position, I'm feeling my core engage, I'm feeling my glutes engage. I'm going to use that same penny squeeze to pulse out for 10. Once I've pulsed out for 10, I'm now going to go into a nice bridge, or hip thrust, I should say. I'm going to come down to here. Notice that pelvis and hips, once again, pelvis and rib cage are staying in the same line. I'm going to squeeze and come up, come back down, penny squeeze again, squeeze and come up, come back down. So 5 and 5, 10 and 10, reps are going to be according to you. And then we'll transition into a bench squat. Now for the sake of this one, I'm gonna have a little issue camera angle, so bear with me here. We're gonna scoot you up. This way you guys can see me a little bit better. This is what happens when you don't have a cameraman, right? Thank you. My Yoda mug is holding us up now. So, same position, right? Now, I may have given you direction to put it below your, this is why we don't, this is why we test our bands before the video. I may have given you direction to put it below your knees. So if that's in your notes, just be cognizant of that. That's generally because you're having more ankle or calf dysfunction. But for the case of video, most of my people, it's gonna need to be above the knees. Now, the cool part is we can now translate this to essentially the same actions to our squats, right? So I'm gonna be here, I'm here, pelvis is nice and neutral, breath here, big inhale, squeeze glute and slightly out to come up, come back down, squeeze glute out and up to come back down. We don't want this hip thrust at the top, right? I'm staying in whatever angle I need to stay at in order for my pelvis to be neutral. I'm also not looking down. I'm looking more 45 degrees up, just like I would have for those hip thrusters as well. So that's why I like my arms here, right? That way I can mimic that same concept. We're just changing the angles depending on where we're at. So that hip thrust just translated into a squat, which is why it's so important to train all of these angles. If anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a call, feel free to reach out, comment, all that good stuff. And to any of my clients, if at any point this feels weird or doesn't feel right, message me. Let's talk through it. We might just not have thought about all of our cues, especially when it came to the core and glutes, because we're starting to get into more complex stuff. So hope this helps, and let me know how I can help you.